Wimwega mwiroreri njitagwo Andua Mwangi kuma guku kwa Mucene TV na muthenya wa umuthi twarora uria wari governor wa gatatu wa kuria kaunti ya Nyeri uria wikaine ta Ndagitari Wahome Wagakuru. Tariki ni 7 mweri wa 11 mwaka wa 2017 barabara-ini ya Kabati Thagana Highway niho mundu gwitwo Ndagitari Wahome Wagakuru ahumukiire kana ahuhirie rĩera rĩake rĩa mwisho. Kwerekanaga ati mundu gwitwo Ndagitari Wahome Wagakuru nĩetĩtwo interview nĩ mundu gwitwo Kamau wa Kang'ethe station ya Royal Media Services ĩrĩa yoĩkaine ta Inoro TV ĩrĩa memerekagia na rũthiomi rũrũ tũraria rwa Gĩkũyũ. Ndagitari Wahome Wagakuru akiuma otoria wari mfango wake, akiuma o ũrĩa umaga o kawaida, no gũgĩkinya haria Thagana barabara ĩyo niho ngari yateire mwerekera, kũgũrũ gũkiuma na mwena ũrĩa aikarĩte, cuma ĩgĩũka ĩhĩtũkĩire na ĩkĩmũkora harĩa arĩ. No ndeto cia kũmakania nĩ ici: arĩa marĩ kana ũrĩa warĩ bodyguard yake, ũrĩa waikarĩte harĩa mbere, we no guoko akorirwo ahutio nĩ cuma ĩyo, no ũrĩa warĩ thutha, ũrĩa warĩ governor wa Nyeri, ũrĩa warĩ na kĩoneki kĩnene makĩria ya gũkũria gĩtarũ gĩkĩ gĩa gatagatĩ kana gĩtarũ gĩkĩ kĩa Mount Kenya, no ũrĩa warehete vision ya 2030. Ndagitari Wahome Wagakuru agĩkorwo nĩ cuma ĩyo na agĩtuĩka wa gũkua hau. Barabara ĩyo ĩkĩamba ĩkĩhingwo mathaa maigana ũna na borithi cigĩũka cia ũthuthuria nĩgetha matwĩre nĩkĩ kĩarĩire ũrĩa warĩ governor wa Nyeri gwa kahinda kau. Na nginya ũmũthĩ ũyũ nĩ mĩaka 5 rĩu, nginya thaa ici gũtirĩ kwamenyekana nĩkĩ Ndagitari Wahome Wagakuru ekire. Ona ngingo yake itarĩkĩtie kũrengeka, ũrĩa warĩ mũnini wake gwa kahinda kau, ũrĩa oĩkaine ta Mũtahi wa Kahiga, muthenya wa mathiko nĩeyumĩririe kĩng'ang'a-inĩ na akiumburania atĩ ngari ĩrĩa Wahome Wagakuru athiaga nayo nĩamwĩrĩte yarĩ na gathĩna na atigage kũhũthĩra ngari ĩyo, nake mũndũ wĩtagwo Wahome Wagakuru agĩtuĩka wa kũhũthĩrĩria na agĩtuĩka wa gũthiaga na ngari ĩyo.
And up to today, I keep asking everybody who bothers to listen, how did Wahome Wagakuru find himself in the Mercedes-Benz outside Nyeri when we had agreed with him because it was faulty? And he had told me about 3 or 4 times, my brother, he gari ndio itaniua. Wambogo, you remember? He had said that 1,000 times. It was a faulty car. Yes. We were struggling to do. So we inherited a county that did not have a proper car for the governor. I was given a Mitsubishi, which I handed over to him and told him, Governor, I would rather look for a smaller car while you use this vehicle because it's better and it's safer. When he got into the car, my Mitsubishi suffered because, like I told you, Wahome Wagakuru thought very, very fast. And that is how he wanted his vehicles. They were all supposed to move very, very fast. Many times, he used his own personal vehicles because he felt they were better and safer.
Na mĩario ĩno ya Mũtahi Kahiga ĩkĩmũrehera thĩna mũno na ĩgĩtuĩka wa gũtwarwo igoti-inĩ athiĩ akaheane ndeto ĩno makĩria mena mwĩkũĩrwo ũngĩ wa kahinda kau ũrĩa ũĩkaine ta Rigathi wa Gachagua. Kwerekanaga atĩ Rigathi wa Gachagua mena Mũtahi Kahiga nĩo atĩ mabangĩte njama ĩno ya kũnina Wahome Wagakuru, no magĩtwarwo igoti-inĩ nĩguo kũgagire ũira mũiganu na cira wao ũgĩtuĩka wa gũteanĩrio.
Yes, my name is Dennis Moigai Ngengi. Nilikuwa natoka kule Nyeri, nilikuwa naelekea Nairobi. Nilikuwa nyuma hiyo gari Mercedes. Hiyo gari ndio governor ndio kutuasha alikonfusiwa ama driver wake mmoja alimconfuse ni driver wa motorbike, alikuwa amebeba nyama. So huyu jamaa wa motorbike alienda kuchomoka na amebeba nyama, kisaduku kile kia nyama, na mbele ya driver wa motorbike kulikuwa na lori. Na huyu driver wa governor alikuwa ameona kama ameclear barabara yake kukiria, amestukia huyu ameshomoka. Mimi niko nyuma yao, nilikuwa ni nyuma yao, hapa kwa hapa, nimeandamana hapa kwa hapa, na yeye ameshomoka. Sasa wakati huyu alishomoka, driver wa governor alikuwa anaondokea asiue nani, alikuwa anaondokea asiue jamaa wa motorbike. So kustukia jamaa ameshomoka, na driver wa governor akarudi sawa, kurudi upande hii ndiye alikuja kuwa amegonga hiyo shuma kutoka pale. Nikapita upande ile, mimi nilikuwa nimebona driver yangu hiyo madam ya askari. Nikarudi upande ile, nikarudi gari yetu ikarudi upande ile, tukaona chuma imeinuka juu ikasimama kama mtu. Hiyo chuma unaona iko upande hii, ile iko upande hiyo chuma mpya ikasimama kama mtu. Nikiwa tumefika pale ndio nilionea mguu ya gari iko juu, nikaona mguu ya gari iko juu. Nikaambia madam, hebu turudi hapo nyuma. Nyuma yetu kulikuwa na gari ya AP cruiser. By that cruiser ndio tuliwaambia maaskari hawa watu lazima wako na bunduki, so lazima wachunge hizo bunduki siweze kufanya nini, raia wasikuja makuwa na watu harifu wakuja waweza kunyang'anya kubeba zile bunduki. Na walifanya kama vile tuliovenga, wakakuja hapo wakashughulikia hizo bunduki, wakashughulikia zile bidhaa zilikuwa na ile gari ya governor. Na sisi tukapindua gari yetu tukakuja tena hapa kwa Singi. Mtu wa kwanza kukuta kwa Singi ni huyu this lady. Kwa hiyo wako sasa alikuwa hapa chini, hata nikamuuliza na uja wao na hiyo hata nilikuta by the way shuma ilikuwa imekaa karibu na mguu yake. Si ndio watu wa kwanza kufika kwa ilikuwa saa 1, ilikuwa imebakia dakika 8. Niko nyuma ya governor. So hata governor mimi mwenyewe hata nimeongea na yeye akisema maneno ya nimegongwa mguu. Kusikia mdomo ya governor mwenyewe akisema nimeumia mguu, na driver anasema niko hapa nimegongwa hapa lakini sijaumia. So hata governor alikuwa anasema mguu imefanya nini? Mguu imegongo mguu ya governor imegongo. So kile kishuma ndio I think kiingia kwa gari chini. Wakati unajua Mercedes unajua Mercedes haina fiber, ni chuma. So ilikuja kama imeingia ndani ya Mercedes. Ndio sasa I think hiyo ndio sasa imekosi that chuma ndio kosi ya governor wetu kutuwasha. So
you watch the rescue mission happen.
Yes, so kutoka hapo ndio nikaanza kupigia wenzangu simu wale wako karibu. Tukaanza kuconnect na waka-connect na askari wa Kabati. Ndio watu ya pikipiki nimeona wakiteremka kutoka kule juu Kabati, watu wakipiga nduru kutoka ngambo ile, na pia kutoka ngambo ile wakipiga nduru, watu wakakuja hapa. Na ndio kukakuja mtu mmoja na na axo ya kukata ile chuma. Hata sijui penye ametokezea, mimi hata nimeshangaa. Ndio akakuja hapo akaanza saa kutusaidia kukata ile chuma. So hata ile mtu kwa tunahurumia sisi huyu kwa vile angekuwa na nini. So tukamhurumia, lakini sasa tulikuwa tunajali sana governor. Hata sikuwa naamini governor mimi anaweza kutuasha. Hata siko by the way vile aliongea, hata singeamini watangazaji wa Citizen TV hata ule mtu angekufa. So
kurudi. And the others were also okay?
Wawili wale walikuwa pale kwa hiyo gari ya governor, walikuwa watu wanaongea kwa hiyo gari. So baada ya kutuasha ndio umesikia wakisemekana sijui imeenda governor ametuasha. Lakini nikiwa kwa gari by the way hata niliongea nao mimi. Kwanza governor nimuuliza mheshimiwa uko sawa? Lakini ule driver wa governor alikuwa miguu yake imekatalia na kule ndani, alikuwa imeshikanishwa na ile chuma ya miguu imekatalia na kule ndani. So tulikuwa tunampatia kumpatia usaidizi. So watu wakakuja tukasaidiana, wanaishi wakakuja tukasaidiana, tukajaribu vile atatoka, na so akatoka na akakimbizwa kule hospitalini. Sasa tukua bado hapo tukasikia governor wetu amepronouncewa dead. So hao watu nasikia wakisema sijui ilikuwa 6, ilikuwa 7, ilikuwa saa 2, wajui ile kitu wanasema. Governor accident yake imefanyika saa 1, ilikuwa imebakia dakika 8. Sasa nilikuwa nyuma yake hapa kwa hapa. Na ile kitu kosi ya governor kukufa ni mtu ya bike ule alikuwa amebeba kisaduku ya nyama. Kama huyo mtu wa bike kama angetokezea, hiyo gari ya governor angekosa accident.
Thank you.
Kwa majina naitwa Lydia Mudhuni. Mimi nilikuwa natoka Kabati. Mimi nilikuwa natelemka. Sasa mimi nilikuwa hapa chini nikasikia kitu imegonga mabati. Mimi kwanza sikuangalia nyuma. Sasa mimi kurudi kuangalia nikaona ni gari imegonga, imeingia kwa kibati, imesimama huko. But hiyo mguu ilikuwa imepita juu yangu. Sasa kupita juu yangu mimi nikainama. Kuinama sasa ndio nilitoka mimi nikapanda. Kupanda mimi nikaenda nilikuwa nimepita direct. nikapita hii barabara, nikaenda ile nyingine, nikaenda nikakaa mahali chini. Kwanza nikapanguza macho juu ya mchanga. Nilikuwa nimeingiwa na mchanga kwa macho. Sasa mimi kurudi nikapata mmoja amekatwa mguu, amekatwa hapa panjani na pale chini. Huyo mwingine kijana naye alikuwa amekatwa vidole 3. Sasa gavana nikasikia ako ndani ya ngali, lakini mmoja ndiye ako ameumia, bodyguard wake. Sasa mimi kukuja nikasikia watu wakisema tutoe gavana. Sasa tukiwa hapo katolewa na akapelekwa hospitali Thika.
Kĩũria kĩnene kĩrĩa Kenya matũire meyũragia nĩ gĩkĩ: nĩkĩ gĩatũmire Wahome wagakuru akue ona ataninĩte mĩeri 5 ofici-inĩ? Na nyingĩ nĩ arĩkũ acio mamũninire na mamũninire nĩgetha megune nake? Tanathiĩ mũno reke ngũririkanie atĩ ũrĩa warĩ mũnini wa ndagĩtarĩ Wahome wagakuru, ũrĩa nĩ gavana wa kahinda gaka ũrĩa oĩkaine ta Mutahi Kahiga, nĩ ahĩtithirie ona mathiko ma gavana Wahome wagakuru matathikanĩtwo. Na nyingĩ harĩkia kwĩhĩtithio gũtirĩ gavana ona ũmwe wekinyirie kwĩhĩtithio kũu gwake, tondũ akĩhĩtithirio mathaa ma thinacara cia hwainĩ kuma gavana agĩkua, na akĩhĩtithio wĩra ũrĩa ambĩrĩirie wa mbere. Ambĩrĩirie gũgĩetha ngari, agĩcoka akĩambia gwĩthondekera mũciĩ wake. Naguo mũthenya wa mathiko ũgĩkinya na mũndũ gwĩtwo gavana Wahome wagakuru agĩtuĩka wa gũkĩhurũkio gwake mũciĩ. Kumania na hĩndĩ ĩyo ciana ciake, mũtumia wake magĩtirikwo nĩ thirikari ĩrĩa yarĩ ho, na ũrĩa warĩ gavana na ũrĩa nĩ gavana wa kahinda gaka, mũndũ gwĩtwo Mutahi wa Kahiga. Nĩ mũkũririkana ica itarĩ kũraya nĩ mwareheirwo mbica ya kaburi ka gavana Wahome wagakuru ũrĩa gatiganĩirio na mũtumia wake aikeria thĩna makĩria, na ciana ciake tũtikĩũĩ kũrĩa ciagĩthire, na nĩguo ciakĩrĩ na kĩoneki kĩnene mũngĩririkana mũthenya wa mathiko ũrĩa ciakĩrutire ndũmĩrĩri yarĩ na hinya ma. Nĩndĩrageririe kũingĩra live ya mũndũ gwĩtwo gavana wa Nyeri ũrĩa oĩkaine ta Mutahi Kahiga na kũmũria atĩ hihi nĩ ũririkanaga family ya mũrataguo ũrĩa oĩkaine ta ndagĩtarĩ Wahome wagakuru. Onake Mutahi wa Kahiga anjĩrire we no mũcene ũĩ, gũtirĩ kĩndũ kĩngĩ withĩragia nĩkĩo ũragĩtwo mũcene. Kumania na hau mũndũ gwĩtwo Mutahi wa Kahiga akĩnĩ Brock kaimana. Kũringana na mũhuhu ũrĩa ũtambagio gũkũ nenda-inĩ cia ũkinyanĩria, kwĩrĩkanaga atĩ mũndũ gwĩtwo gavana Wahome wagakuru aninirwo nĩ gũkorwo nĩendaga kũnina katero cia kahũa na cia macani gĩcigo-inĩ gĩkĩ gĩa gũkũ Mount Kenya. No akĩingĩra ndakorirwo eka ũguo amu nĩakorirwo ahetwo mbere. Kuma gũkũ kwa Mũcene TV, ngagĩtwo Wandua wa Mwangi, na ngakũririkania atĩ angĩkorwo nĩ rita rĩa mbere rĩa kũnyitana na ithuĩ thĩinĩ wa channel ĩno itũ, tuĩka wa gũsubscribe nĩgetha twĩkĩra thinema ta ĩno wakoragwo wĩ mũndũ wa mbere kũmĩamũkĩra. Na itanathiĩ reke ngũtige na mĩario ya mũtumia wa ndagĩtarĩ Wahome wagakuru ĩrĩa akorirwo akĩrekereria kũrĩa mathiko-inĩ.
Now, this is a man I have known for more than half of my life. We met in 1991 when we were doing our MBA, when we went to start our MBA. And as he was to confess later, one of the things that attracted him to me, because he joined my study group, and it is true what the governor said, I did defeat him in class. Yeah, so for those who visited him, he likes to cook. And I know as he was campaigning, most of you ate some ugali in his house. I was perhaps one of the first beneficiaries And as we studied, we used to call it gakimakaini. So that's what you would make for us, and we would have it as we shared. So we studied together as we did our MBA and went on to share a bit in terms of career. He was almost successful in getting me into academia, but just for a brief stint before I moved on into corporates. As the governor has said, we are blessed with 3 young men. They are not here today, but I can confirm that they exist.
Na getiriha reke gutige na miario ya ndagitari Wahome Wagakuru wigue ma uria ri na kioneki kinene gia gicigo giki kia Mount Kenya na bururi wa Kenya wi wothe.
Informed that Nyeri broom sweeping away all those politicians.
I think one of the things that you fight when you go back the last 4 years, leaders in Nyeri that leaders were not working together. There were a lot of squabbles, a lot of fights, leaders disagreeing, to the point that His Excellency the President actually voiced his concern about the situation. And it is not lost, the people of Nyeri, when you come to the county level, that we saw actual physical fights. Sponsored by individuals who are running the county at that point, rising up to really not engage MCAs in talking to them, but actually beating them with whips and punches and stuff. So that really is what has disappointed Nyeri, number one. Number two is the total lack of development. Nyeri has come out in position, notorious position 47 out of 47, of rankings of counties in terms of budgetary allocations and to development projects. And the people of Nyeri cannot understand how that is possible. They do not see it because if you look at Nyeri compared to many, many counties, first of all, it was a provincial headquarters. So in terms of development, it was starting way ahead of many others that had to actually construct, county assemblies, the office of the governor, etc. We did not have to do any of it. We had quite a bit of tarmac to start with. We have a lot of stuff that happens in agriculture. We do very well. We have good rivers, we have good rains, we have good weather, we got good climate. We very massive in terms of crops, in terms of coffee, in terms of tea, in terms of milk, horticulture. And he couldn't understand, how leadership can fail so badly that the county can actually be positioned 47 out of 47. And then on the other side, the third point is actual corruption. Leo runaway corruption at the county level, documented very clearly by the Office of the Auditor General, not once, twice. The most recent report of 2015, we got the Auditor General team questioning figures to the extent of 2.3 billion shillings and another 400 million that really is also still questionable in areas of revenue corrections, revenue not hitting the banks, etc.
All right, and Dr. Wahome Wagakuru, we have quite a number of independent candidates coming from Nyeri, and their complaint is that some were handpicked. And you, of course, being one who is nominated by Jubilee, were you handpicked?
Oh, no. We have been campaigning in Nyeri. This is my 4th year campaigning for the seat for 2017, gubernatorial race for Nyeri. I have been with the people. I have been in every village in Nyeri. It is real hard work. You do not get elected into office if you don't shake people's hands, if you're not with them, if you don't stay with them, if they don't see you.
Are you directly claiming that maybe the leaders who were there possibly were completely detached from the people?
Well, that has been some of the reasons. In fact, it's been quoted more often than not, that certain individuals were actually shown the door because they ran away to Nairobi. They campaigned in 2013, they got into office, then they switched off the phone. I know for sure, for certain, that is the case in Tetu. For the member of parliament there. Yes, if you ask the people of Tetu, that's what they will tell you. And I'm not against any individual, but that is what we have had constantly.
It's obviously a trend being set in Nyeri, the electorate sending a very strong message to the political class that we are noticing that your poor performance, and this will reflect in the August 8th elections. But after the August 8th elections, that message during the primaries is still a very loud message. What impact do you think it's going to have on the crop of leaders that will get into office in Nyeri County?
We have a whole completely new crop of leaders. I think we're going to see very new faces, We will see a repeat of what happened in the primaries. Individuals will be judged in terms of who they are. The issue of integrity, Chapter 6 of the Constitution, Wajiko is actually implementing it.
That's very interesting. And of course, Nyeri is viewed as a Jubilee stronghold, and many times the perception is if you won the nomination stage, then you're almost guaranteed a win in the election. But what is the nature of Nyeri politics? Quite a lot of independent candidates there in the play. Is it more about party politics or more about personality politics?
It is individuals who are selfish, actually. They came out and presented themselves in the primaries of Jubilee Party. And when they were defeated, these guys cannot believe. They're putting their own private interest before the community interest. And what we then see are persons who, despite the fact that His Excellency the President has spoken and requested them to remain in the party, and the Deputy President has done the same, these guys still believe, and they cannot understand how they were beaten. How they were beaten hands down by some guys who are very, very new in Nyeri in terms of politics. And that is why you find they're coming back. Some of them had actually conceded, if you remember. You know, and then after whatever, somebody had a dream, and it figured they can win, and they are coming back. And we know that the nominations of Jubilee Party in Nyeri were free, fair, and to a very large extent, very transparent.
And I'm sure most people, well, you would say that given that you are the nominee, but I'm sure there are those who would contest that. But going back to the aspect that you've mentioned twice, even in just this interview, that Nyeri was number 47 out of 47. Right. That is definitely the worst that you can have in any kind of exam. However, Nyeri is one that is known to produce a lot. It has, you know, if you look at the capital that is raised within Nyeri County just by farmers and all that, there's coffee, there's tea, there's a lot of produce. What would you attribute that dismal performance to?
Failure in leadership. Total failure in leadership. You see, this is what we get from is, you know, national government in terms of budgetary allocation in Nyeri. Last time we got 6.4 billion. Nyeri has a capacity, because of that capital base you talk about, of raising about 2 billion shillings. And that would take it to 8.4 billion. You pay, of course, we have a fairly huge wage bill because we inherited provincial staff who are in Nyeri. But I am very sure, because you're required by the national government to actually invest a minimum of 30% of whatever resources that you get in development. This is what has been missing, to the point where in the last you know, audit, we were actually doing, last year, it was reported in the media, July last year actually, it was reported in the media that we invested only 7%. And when you look at Mvuria in the coast, the guy was actually doing more than 55% of his budget and putting it into development. That is basically what is happening.
But focusing on what the people of Nyeri really prioritize, especially in terms of tea and coffee, this is something we also saw the late Nderitu Gachagua champion quite a bit. But there's been statistics that even the level of production of tea and coffee in both Nyeri and Murang'a counties are coming down. As the incoming governor, possibly, what do you plan to do to turn the situation around? Well,
you get in and work with the leadership with the two crops, tea and coffee. And also, of course, we have a lot of horticulture in Kenya and milk. And sit down with the leadership of these areas and come up with proper policy and budgetary support for them to actually be able to move forward. To get coffee to go up, you got to provide extension farmers and farming support to these farmers, and then you got to provide budgetary support to them. If you don't do that, if you don't put your money on the table for these areas to move forward, then you're going to be in quite a bit of trouble. Right. We need to improve the yield, we need to improve the quality, and then, of course, look at how we take this produce to the market.
Dr. Wahome Gakuru, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we wish you all the best.